Hi everyone, this podcast and YouTube video is all about mental health, as it was Mental Health Week in the UK last week. I'm going to cover a few different issues. Love you to give some feedback on what you think is important, what you think is critical with the areas that I've covered. So please check it out. It's for every man, it's for every woman, it's for every entrepreneur, it's for every corporate employee or business owner. By all means, check it out and give me your feedback. Thanks a lot. Bye. Hi everyone, this is Mark Hayward. This is the Absolute Business Mindset podcast. I just thought I would speak to you today about mental health. Probably should have done this the week before, but this is regarding Mental Health Charity Week, which has been happening in the UK this week. And I wanted to touch base with a few of these different ideas about mental health and how that might affect you and what you can do to try and mitigate to stop it from happening to you. It's one of those things that, what do they say, 1 in 4 now are affected by it. So it's a major issue for a lot of people in the UK and globally. So I think it's worth just taking stock and having to think about some of the things I say today, and hopefully it will give you some tools, some techniques on how you can mitigate it to stop it from happening to you. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is about the office hours. So I have spent a lot of time in the office. You do, and this is in the corporate environment. This is because it's down to perception, but you do need to spend some time in the office. You need to be perceived to be working hard, to be delivering, and this is the reason why a lot of people spend a lot of hours in the office, is because they need to deliver a project. As you're younger, as you're in your early part of your career, you're wanting to deliver, and you're wanting to deliver a lot. So often people at a younger age and an older age, it's not exclusively for the juniors, but they spend a lot of time in the office because they need to deliver something. So the long hours in a career, in the early stages of the career, is basically, one reason is because you're trying to learn a lot of stuff. So you have to be able to deliver, and that's being able to pick up things from studying, from learning on the job, from speaking to colleagues. Some colleagues might be better in the morning, some might be better in the evening, some might be better to have lunch with. There's lots of different ways of being able to get knowledge and build up this knowledge in learning, and at an early stage, all the way through your career. You're always learning, really, in my opinion, or you should be. The people that stop learning are the ones that, for me, are in problems, because they're not looking to expand, not looking to expand their knowledge and get better at their job. So I would say one reason why you need to spend a lot of time in the hours is to learn. Second other thing is that often, in a lot of cases, you don't have that many other responsibilities. When you get to my age, you have responsibilities like family and children, and it can be a tricky balance. Excuse me, sorry about that. No editing. I like to keep it raw. And I think also spending a lot of hours in the office actually shows commitment to your role. Whether it's the company that you're committed to, or the job, or the career, or the learning that you're doing, it does show a level of responsibility, a level of commitment, and I think that is important. The other thing is, making a few sacrifices for your job, for your career, actually is very well perceived in management. A football match that you miss, or a cricket match that you miss because you need to deliver something for work, always does a good turn in the sort of boss's mindset that you're committed to the role. And the other thing you got to think about, like why you spend lots of hours in the office, is because you need to create a good impression. The time in the office shows people's abilities and responsibilities, so it's important that you do spend time in the office. And I am the first person who dispels the myth that it's easy to get to where you want to be. You do have to put the hours in. You do have to sacrifice. You do have to work hard. If you don't want to do any of those things, then you're probably wrong to be in the career, or the career that you're doing, because you're not committed to it. You don't have the passion for it. You don't want to be there delivering for your clients, for your colleagues. You need to create the impression, and you need to believe that you want to be there and you want to deliver. So that's not necessarily a mental health sort of pep talk, but the next bit is probably if you're on the level of that, you are working a lot, you are learning a lot, you have great responsibilities, you're making sacrifices, you're making a good impression, but you can lean towards burnout. And I think this is one of the major issues that people have in corporate jobs, is that they get burnout. Now, I have put in place a few different ways of being able to stop burnout. Now, one thing is to not look at your phone an hour before you go to bed. Easier said than done. It's always tempting to just have a quick look at the emails, just have a look at your calendar. Calendar is actually a good one to actually look at. Like, you can plan your next day, but essentially you don't want to be answering emails in the last hour of your day. Equally, you don't want to be answering emails in the first hour of your day. Both are very good for your mindset, for your mental capacity, and your mindset being able to get ready for the day. So I would say that if you are prone to looking at your email just before you go to bed, that is you're going to be less successful on being able to get to sleep easily, calmly, restfully. And that leads me on to the point of sleep. And we're gonna cover sleep as a separate point, but I think it's more important than most people think. And if you listen to all of the influencers, from Gary Vaynerchuk to Arnold, I've heard a great one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like, well, you sleep 8 hours a day. It gives you 16 hours to do everything else. That's plenty. It's actually a really good point. So I am completely committed to sleep and getting enough sleep to be successful. Now we'll cover that in the next point. Now you do need an enjoyment, and I know I've said just now that you need to be committed to your role, to your career, and you need to give up and sacrifice. But equally, it is important to have something outside of your career, whether it's a hobby like podcasting, whether it's socialising with friends or family, whether it's playing a sport, whether it's having some other sort of hobby that you might be interested in. Something that's yours is important. Something that I think is also important to be something unique. It might be a Pokemon obsession. It might be a cricket obsession. It might be podcasting. But it is important to have something outside that builds up skills, other types of skills. Because if you're learning a particular, a lot of people that I work with are training to be accountants or tax professionals, and they spend a lot of time reading and absorbing information about tax and about accountancy. But if you did a Toastmasters sort of career development on public speaking, it's always been something that I'd like to do. I've never got enough time to do it, but always would love to do it. That would give you skill sets of being able to absorb information, present in front of people, feeling confident speaking in front of people. So there's lots of things that you could do to build different types of skill sets than your career, and I think that's incredibly important. So important for mental health. Often neglected because people do their job, do their career, and socialise, and that's it. So I would say for your mental health, try and get a hobby. It can be a cliched word, but try and get something, an interest, a side hustle, a hobby, whatever you want to call it. And the other thing is, I think you need to try at least to be happy. Happier employees make better employees. So if that is a hobby, if that is a sport, whether that's meditation, whether that's a pastime, checking out the RSPB, the birds in your local reservoir, marshlands or something like that. It can be anything as random as you like. Someone I know, bell ringing, they enjoyed. Just there's a myriad of different ideas and hobbies that you can do. So, and they make people happy, and you need to be happy in your job, in your career, and you need to be happy for your own mental health. So, try and make yourself happy. The thing about burnout is it can lead to depression. So if you're working too hard, if you're looking at your phone at 10, 11 o'clock at night, if you get no break time, you get no downtime, and downtime can be TV. It can be, but I would say there's probably better ways of getting more out of your downtime than TV or Netflix or Amazon Prime, whatever it is. And so TVs are it can release and give you time out, but equally it's not always the most relaxing that you could do. And I think you do need to think about stopping depression, trying to prevent those negative thoughts. And we're going to talk about a little bit later on about how to remove negative thoughts. But depression is something that should be considered as something to be avoided, definitely. And I also think, so friends and family are important. So socialising is one thing, but having people that are very close to you, you can share things with, you can be in the moment with, you don't have to necessarily worry about what you're going to say or how it's going to be perceived, is incredibly important. So finding time with friends and families, I think, is important to be able to stop you burning out. So try and find that time, try and find that space that you can be with friends and family. So next point I want to talk about is sleep. So touched on it just a few minutes ago. I am of the opinion that sleep is the most underrated thing that anyone has in their power. Now, lots of these things you can have in your power, some things are not in your power, but sleep is something that you can create space for. I now believe, and I didn't believe this at 21, but I now believe that sleep is critical to anyone's success. You need to get between 7 and 8 hours a day. Some people might do 6. Some people might do 5. I think you're pushing it on 5, but they might do 5. Some people need 9 or 10. I think you need to work out what is a reasonable. Now, they say 8 hours is what you should be aiming for. And I've got a Fitbit. Whoever's got these, I'll show you on YouTube, these Fitbit things, and that monitors my sleep, and it gives me an idea on how many hours I've had and how I can play the day with knowing that I've only had 6 because my kid was up or something like that. So 8 is your best set. That's what you should be aiming for. Now, that actually can be disrupted by not sleeping in the evening. If you're sleeping at night, you might have insomnia, you might have stress, you might have that you need to be up. But I really do think if you put a time to go to bed on a regular basis, I think that really, really helps. So for me, it's been 10 and 10:30. If I'm being good, it'll be 10. If it's not good, it's towards 10:30, which gives me usually 7 hours. I would like that extra half an hour to give me 8 hours. I know it doesn't quite work out, but I get 7.5 hours a day usually. But 8 is obviously your aim. Now, sleep also reduces stress because it gives you time to repair and get better after a long day. So if you burn the candle in the evening because you have a US client or something like that, then I would suggest maybe not rushing into work, giving yourself a bit of time to get going in the morning. Equally, if you're an early bird, then because of Asia or India or something like that's important to your client base, then I would say sleep helps reduce those stress levels so much. So I really would promote stress levels are expected. Anyone that doesn't expect to be stressed with your job or career or business, you're delusional. You should be looking to be able to manage your stressful periods. Now, sometimes they're a day, sometimes they're a week, sometimes they're a month. But if you get good sleep in between those periods of high intensity work, there's definitely a better way of being able to respond when those stressful periods arrive. Now, there is evidence also that stress and better mood is created by having sleep. So you are actually in a better mood if you regularly sleep. And we talked about this happiness a little bit earlier on. I think a happy employee, a happy person, a happy business person is someone that is a better employee, business owner. So I would say that. Also, there is evidence that if you sleep well, you're more likely to exercise, and that exercise or meditate, and that is definitely a mood enhancer. I would say both are incredibly important for people's mental health, often underutilized, underappreciated, but I think equally exercise is so critical, or meditation is so critical. You eat better as well. There's evidence to say that if you sleep on a regular basis with good number of hours, you eat healthier, because I don't know, surely you've experienced this. You've worked late, you come home and just ordering a pizza or getting a pizza from the supermarket, chucking it in the oven, mainly like ordering something in is so easy because you're tired, you're exhausted, you're mentally frazzled. The last thing you want to do is then go and cook a 3-course meal. Pizza on the end of the line is far too easy. So it does show that eating is related to your stress levels and the level of sleep that you get. So the healthier you are, the better you'll eat, and the less stress you'll have, and the less likelihood of burnout as well. So and I must admit, I have seen a remarkable difference in my performance and personality and happiness when I got those 7-8 hours a day sleeping. I used to burn the candle at both ends, and to be honest, you pick it up eventually. It eventually makes an issue that becomes too large to be able to just palm away. So don't cut short on your sleep. As I said, like 7-8 hours is plenty, is good enough. Let's say, not plenty. So I just wanted to say also, my next point is regarding mental health. It's not discriminative. It doesn't prefer mental health issues, whether that is anything from depression to anxiety to schizophrenia to bipolar, whatever it is. It is not discriminative about anyone. It doesn't matter where you come from. You can be rich, poor, Asian, black, white, yellow, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother thinking about where you come from. It's not a rich person or a poor person. issue. So it can happen to anyone. So as I said at the start, 1 in 4 are going to be affected in their lives with mental health issues. So I think everyone should be aware of it. Everyone should be aware of their trigger points. Now, trigger points might be a stressful period. It might be lack of sleep. It might be family involvement or lack of family involvement. There are so many different myriads, different ways that this can affect you, but it does not care what you are, what you do. It can affect anyone. A high-flying lawyer, a hugely successful businessman can be hit with depression, and that is just the fact of it. And you just have to be aware that this thing could happen to you. So on that about mental health, I think you do always need someone to talk to. Now I'm just going to say that. So there's exercise, there's meditation or talking. Equally, all 3 are important for your development and for your mental health. I've covered a lot on exercise and meditation, on various things that I've done previously, so I'm not going to dwell on that. But equally, exercise gives you a better mental health, and meditation sort of clears the mind a little bit. But something that we don't talk a lot about is the 3rd point, which is talking to someone. Now, that someone might be a sibling, it might be a mum or dad, it might be a girlfriend, partner, wife, it could be your boss, it could be a colleague, but you do need to be able to find a space where you can talk some of these things out. It could be a therapist. There are lots of different options for you, but I would say you do need to have space where someone is available for you, just you, to talk to. Now, you can work out who that right person is, and I'm not going to dictate, but I've given you a few examples, a few suggestions on who that person could be. But you do need to find someone that you can talk to. And talking to means talking about your feelings, talking about your emotions, talking about your decisions, talking about why something's happened. And it just, I think generally people are better off. The generation before, well, 2 before us, so my grandparents' generation just never talked about anything. And I think we're moving towards the place where people are more willing to open up and chat and talk about their feelings, emotions, drivers, decisions. I think it's critically important that you find someone that is that right person that you can share your feelings with, your emotions with. So definitely do that. Definitely check that out. I think that's important for everyone. And I just have my last point, which is not massively unique, but equally should be said on a regular basis. So life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you've probably heard that from loads of people, and I get it, but maybe you don't. And so this short-term burnout where you're just working for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, just hardcore, you then forget that actually most people's career span 40, 45, perhaps 50 years. So there's plenty of time, whatever state you're in, whatever mental health issues you're facing at the moment, whatever levels of stress levels that you're facing, life is a marathon. There's plenty of time. You need to be patient. You need to push. You need to hustle. You need to drive. But equally, you need to remember that it's a marathon and you need to work hard consistently over a period for you to really be successful. Right, that's the end of the podcast. My name's Mark Hayward. You can check me out on Twitter, on Instagram. Obviously, got my podcast on all the usual places like iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. You got myself on YouTube, which you can check out on this. There's the Patreon account, which I'm trying to get unique, unusual and rare footage for you on there. So I'd love you to join me on Patreon. That would be fantastic. That's where I am. If anyone has any feedback, I'd love you to message me either through feedback on iTunes or wherever, or equally you can DM me on social media. But thank you very much. One thing I'll ask you to do, if you've enjoyed this, can you please tell a friend a family member, or a colleague. I'd love you to spread the message. But let's get this out as far as we can get. There's some important things being said on this podcast. Hopefully, we're going to have a couple of new interviews in the next couple of weeks, so you can check those out. There's going to be a mixture going forward between these solo conversations, solo monologues that I've got here, and with some interviews as well. So hope you enjoy it. I'd love to get some feedback, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.